Hello and welcome to gusmcdollgames. My name is Nick McDowell and today we're playing On the Rocks, the fourth mission in the NATO campaign in Naval War Arctic Circle. Naval War Arctic Circle is based on a hypothetical Great Arctic War set in 2030 and fought in the North Atlantic, Arctic, Baltic and the North Sea. The NATO campaign covers the Great Arctic War as experienced from the Northern Partnership and NATO alliances. In On the Rocks, Russia attempts to invade Iceland. Each mission starts with a news article to give us some context. The Daily Global Courant, Wednesday 28 August 2030. Russia threatens Scandinavian countries, Iceland. International diplomacy fails to resolve Arctic conflict. The war in the Arctic came to a head this week as the navies of the United Kingdom, Norway and the Netherlands clashed with elements of the Northern Fleet of the Military Maritime Fleet of Russia in what has been described as the bloodiest series of naval engagements since World War II. Please pause the video if you'd like to read the full article, and while you're doing so, don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more great content. Okay, so the Russians are launching an amphibious assault on Iceland in Mission 4 On the Rocks. Description: the Russian Navy is attempting a surprise invasion of Iceland. Use your submarines to stop the invasion. Objectives: inflict major damage on the enemy surface ships. And you can see on the top right hand corner, sink 3 enemy surface combatants. Your aircraft carrier must survive and prevent enemy from getting to the landing zone marker. And the hint reads, the marker shows apparent enemy landing zone. The enemy surface ships must not reach this position. So far we haven't actually detected enemy surface ships, so we'll move to the HMS Astute and give it a movement setting. There's the Astute. It has 10 Tomahawks and 28 Spearfish, so 10 UGM-109 tactical Tomahawks with a 918 nautical mile range. And it also has 28 Spearfish heavyweight torpedoes with a 29 nautical mile range. Okay, so pretty happy with the speed. Just check the sensors. The Thales sonar type 2097. It has a type 2065 towed array sonar, so we'll get that going, and type 2076 flank array sonar. So we've got the towed array sonar deployed, and we'll see if we can move the Astute closer into the target area. There's also an ambush, the HMS Ambush, an Astute class submarine. Same loadout of a Tomahawk and Spearfish. It also has the towed array sonar, which will activate and deploy, and move it also towards the target area. So we want to get these submarines moving into where we expect the surface ships are going to be heading so they can get into ambush positions. Here's Keflavik Airport. This has some self-protection in the AMRAAMs, but this may be an important asset later on in a scenario that involves the invasion of Iceland. So this is Iceland in the center of the screen there. You can see we're at Keflavik Airport. There are no military aircraft in this airfield at the moment. No carried units. The Sentinel radar is on, so it's giving us some coverage, particularly of the western portion of Iceland. And of course Iceland is strategically important because it covers this GI-UK gap, and it is a very important staging area for aircraft and ships covering that gap into the North Atlantic. This is Jan Mansfield. On the island of Jan Mayen. It has 2 F-35s, 2 P-8A Poseidon multi-mission maritime aircraft, and this is something of an all-weather strip. So what we might do is we'll take the 2 F-35s, put them in a patrol pattern, and just around the island itself. So we'll set them at medium height so they've got a good bit of altitude. We really want them, patrol pattern around Jan Mansfield, because we really want them to be able to see what's happening in that area and improve our situational awareness. If the enemy does have a surface fleet heading towards that marker, they should be in that area covered by the radar range of the F-35s. And here you can see the F-35s taking off from Jan Mansfield. And they're heading towards their patrol pattern. You can see the island in the backdrop. We'll speed up time, get them to activate their AN/APG-81 radar, and that will they'll do a quick pass over the island. Now this island of Jan Maens is a volcanic island, and you can see the volcano, which is named Beerenberg. That's the name of the volcano passing under there. That's very, very beautiful. And there's actually an airfield on this location in real life as well, which can be used for this kind of a purpose, patrols out into the into this part of the Northern Atlantic Ocean. So we'll now get these F-35s on their patrol pattern. We've got an E-3 Sentry AWACS aircraft. We'll slow that down and increase its altitude to max height, give us the maximum coverage, turn on its APY Band 1, Band 2 radar with a 324 nautical mile range. So that'll give us some pretty good coverage. And certainly allow us to develop the air picture, and immediately you see we have a helicopter contact, which is which is to the northeast of where our submarines are. So we'll get our AWACS aircraft travelling in a safe area. We've got our Queen Elizabeth task group here, the Carrier Task Force, so we'll get its sensors activated, particularly the sonar, to protect against any subsurface threats. It's also got Kelvin Hughes Talus sonar will activate, the Type 2087 towed sonar will activate and deploy that sensor. But we'll exercise a little bit of MCON, or emissions control discipline, in terms of our radar coverage, because we don't necessarily want the Russian surface fleet to detect us that easily, because of course then they can send strikes after us with various kinds of munitions and aircraft. So we'll try and keep our exact position hidden for the time being and rely on our AWACS aircraft. So we have a Daring Type 45 destroyer as part of the escort group, which is, in the last mission there were 3 and now it's gone up to 5. So we've got a Type 23 frigate, the HMS Richmond in the Duke class. We have the HMS Somerset also in the Duke class, the Type 23 frigate, and we have the Dauntless, which is a Type 45 destroyer in the Daring class. And these 5 ships together make the Carrier Task Group. So 2 destroyers, 2 frigates, and of course centered on the QE2. We'll get some aircraft launching now. We'll get some, we'll move them to cruise speed, medium height, the F-35 and air superiority role. So what I wanted to do here is to get some coverage over Iceland. So I'll put them in a patrol pattern there. Anticipate that the surface fleet is going to have some kind of an air cover. So if we put some patrols around this area, and indeed we've got a medium surface contact detected of some kind, so we'll look at that in a moment, but we'll set up our patrol patterns for the F-35s to run an air superiority profile. Okay, going back to Keflavik, actually go to the medium surface contact. It's detected by the E-3 Sentry, so you can see the value of having the E-3 Sentry up, having its radar on, having it at high altitude. We haven't been able to identify this ship yet, so it's all greyed out. And it's displayed as this icon, but fairly certain these are the warships in the Russian surface fleet, and particularly the presence of the helicopter, which we've again detected but not identified. It's probably a Kamov. That would indicate that this is possibly a fleet, because that would be an anti-submarine profile. So we'll get some naval strike. We've got naval strike aircraft we can consider using. Get them. We've got all of these. We've got Growlers. We've got other aircraft we can use, including the Taranis UCAV unmanned aerial vehicles. So we'll get 2 of these, get them in a very low profile, military speed, top speed, and we will in fact launch them in an attack straight at that surface fleet. So that'll be our first strike with the unmanned aerial vehicles, get them in and probing the adversary surface fleet, see who they are, what have they got, how do they respond, and also the attack itself will cause them to expend munitions, which will make them more vulnerable to our later attacks. with manned aircraft and potentially other kinds of munitions. So we've got our F-35s off in the air superiorities, and we're about to launch our UCAVs. So there's the F-35s having launched from the Queen Elizabeth carrier group. This is a type, the Daring, a Type 45 destroyer, and the QE-2 herself. Okay, we'll speed up time a little bit. There we go. There's the unmanned aerial vehicles, the Tyrannus, leaving. So they're going on their strike mission. And they're a bit slower than some of the other aircraft as well. At only 300 and 400, they're going about 400 kilometers an hour now. They're a bit slower, so I'll get them going earlier. But what we'll do is we'll also take these Growlers, electronic warfare aircraft, and we'll see if we can't pre-position them as well here to the south of the task group. Then we'll start to get groups, naval strike aircraft. We'll queue them and get them going to the south, so they're ready to launch a strike when I'm ready to deliver it. Okay, put some more F-35s up. I suspect that the first phase of the battle will probably be an air battle, a battle for air superiority, followed by the surface aspect of the engagement. So that's my prediction at this point. We've got air assets will fight it out, and then we'll have the submarines with their Spearfish plus other Tomahawk missiles will start to launch and start to attrit the surface fleet. So a two-phase battle is what I'm anticipating. Okay, so we'll speed up time, see how things start to develop, give our aircraft some time to get into the combat area. You can see the helicopter there. We don't want that helicopter anywhere near our submarines, so when the air superiority fighters get closer, that's going to be a big target for us. Okay, we've got an incoming missile. So it looks like an air-to-air missile. Yep, that's a Vimpel. It's targeting the F-35s out of Jan Mansfield, which is not good news for us because those F-35s are very important for our situational awareness. And so that indicates to me that we've got to the southwest of those F-35s, we've got some aircraft. And the presence of aircraft, of course, that can launch those anti-aircraft missiles. Oh no, it's coming close. And yep, we've lost one of our F-35s. That's unfortunate. Also, the presence of the aircraft that launched that Vimpel indicates to me that the surface fleet probably has an aircraft carrier in it. So that's an indicator and warning of an aircraft carrier in the surface fleet, and that therefore increases the likelihood that we're going to have that air battle as part of our phase one of this attack. Yeah, okay, we've got another anti-aircraft missile coming in on the F-35, and if looking at the angle, it's shot down bearing there towards the F-35. That didn't come from a surface vessel, that's come from an air platform. So given that the Russians don't have any air bases in the close vicinity, that tends to indicate that they've got an aircraft carrier as part of their group. So we'll launch some more fighters, because this is probably going to be, if they've got an aircraft carrier that close to Iceland already, it's going to be a fairly intense air battle, and we'll want to have a lot of our air platforms up to gain initial dominance of the battle space. Okay. So the F-35 has now bingo fuel. It's returning back to Jan Mansfield. We'll speed up time to see how the battle develops. Follow the F-35 in. And you can see the island on the left. It's a beautiful looking island, but no doubt very cold. Okay, moving back to the main battle area, we have seems to have identified the Moskva group. So yes, there is an aircraft carrier, the Admiral Kuznetsov, which is the lead ship in this group. The Kuznetsov, so we can expect. So we've got the Pyotr Veliki, which is a Kirov class cruiser. Okay, that's very capable and has a lot of. You can see the vertical launch systems on the bow of that vessel. There's a lot of missile capability. It's got an Udaloy 2, the Admiral Chabanenko. So again, you've got a very capable platform here with helicopters with missiles, and you've got the Slava class, the Moskva. And you can also see on the sides of it the missile launchers that it's got. So this is a fairly capable task group that we have facing us here. So we're still out of range of any of the torpedoes. We are within Tomahawk range, but we'll speed up time and see how this battle develops. We've got fixed wing air contact. Okay, so this is the aircraft that presumably launched on us earlier. We do have AMRAAMs defending Mansfield, but we don't have any ready aircraft. We've got 2 Poseidon aircraft, but we don't have any ready fighters. We'll turn both of them into naval strike, because I think that's probably going to be a more useful capability for us than anti-submarine warfare at this point. Okay, moving back to the main battle area. Not much is happening. We'll speed up time. Okay, we've got an incoming missile. So, okay, this is going to be a bit interesting. So this looks like it's probably launched from the ships, and it's probably a land strike launched from the Russian surface fleet. And if there is good news, I guess it's that they're launching it against Jan Mansfield and not against our carrier group. So we've got 72 AMRAAMs with which to defend ourselves against the missiles and against anything else that comes at us. After that, the F-35, if the airfield's still intact, the F-35 will take some time to be ready, but can also provide some local air defence. Okay, we're not quite within range. We'll go to overkill, because we want to put as many of those 72 AMRAAMs in the air against this missile group as we can. Okay, it's still out of range, and we don't want to get our airfield destroyed with AMRAAMs still on the ground. So there we go, it's commencing firing against this group. I just want to get lots of missiles out, so we set it in the overkill mode, as you can see on the screen on the right hand side. Now the adversary's aircraft is, okay, these are Vulcan missiles. The adversary's aircraft is getting disturbingly close to us as well. I don't know why it's doing that, but it presents itself as a target, so we'll task at least one of those AMRAAMs onto that. Okay, we're going through the AMRAAMs fairly closely, but we still have a lot of those ground attack missiles coming in at us. It would have been very good to have had the F-35 up at this stage with an extra 12 AMRAAMs to fire. Okay, and you can see the land attack missiles. I think there looked like one hit, but it didn't do any damage. And we've shot down the Sukhoi T-50 that was lurking in the vicinity as well. We still have 54 AMRAAMs to defend ourselves against other attacks as well, so that's pretty good news. Jan Mansfield is safe for now. So back to the main strike group here that's coming in. We've got Growlers on electronic strike. They've got comms jammers, ALQ-99 electronic countermeasures, ALQ-214. So they've got some pretty good electronic countermeasures to use here. So we'll get them tracking towards the enemy surface fleet. And most of these communications electronic countermeasures in the game are automatic in operation, so you can't switch them on or off or deploy them necessarily. Some of them you can, but some you cannot. So we'll move off this one. Okay, we've got our air superiorities, we've got our Growlers, we've got Naval Strike F-35s. And as you can see, all of those aircraft tracking to the north-northwest, there's going to be something of a fight coming on. So we'll slow down the speed of our patrol aircraft, because we don't necessarily want to have them running out of fuel at an inopportune moment, because they've been going pretty quickly to get up to Iceland. So I want to make sure we're happy with that. We had another air group coming in on Jan Mansfield. We've detected them but not identified them, and you can see that again by the shadow outline of the aircraft. So it tells you that it's an aircraft, but it doesn't tell you what kind of aircraft it is. And sometimes you can estimate what kind of aircraft it is from factors like the altitude and the speed, whether it's civilian, whether it's military, and what kind of military aircraft. Coming in at 850 km an hour, it may be a bomber. So we'll speed up time a little bit, see how things develop. Okay, our air groups are tracking north-northwest. Okay, we've got another fixed-wing aircraft contact moving in on Jan Mansfield. Okay, so still out of AMRAAM range. We'll speed up time again to see how situations develop. Still out of AMRAAM range, but coming in very close. So okay, let's track this aspect of the battle. Speed up just a little bit so that we can close our time. And okay, now we've got the first aircraft crossing the threshold, so we'll target that with AMRAAMs. Target it again. And it's turning around. The second group, or which one is the first one we detected, the MiG-29Ks it turns out, so they're launching something. I would suspect they're launching some kind of land attack weapon. They're outside of range though, so there's not much we can do about that. And here's the MiG-29Ks. We're simply going to have to defeat the land attack missiles themselves, and they're within range, so we'll go ahead and target them. And again, we want to get the AMRAAMs out and the missiles destroyed. We don't want a situation where the missiles strike the airfield while it still has NASAMS 2 sitting on the ground. Okay, you can see some of them are being hit. We're getting some hits in on these. This is the NASAMS 2 AMRAAM missile. Okay, and it looks like we've again been successful and defeated that missile attack, which is great news. So far we're doing all right. We've lost one F-35, but we've been able to knock down a Sukhoi T-50 and defeat missile threats against us. So aircraft is 1 for 1, and we've got the upper hand on the land attack on Jan Mansfield. And our air group is advancing very menacingly onto the enemy surface fleet. We have the Spearfish torpedoes just out of range. We've got the ambush moving into an ambush, but still out of range. And you can see the, okay, we've got another detection of a Sukhoi T-50, but again, that's returning from Jan Mansfield and presents no threat. It's out of range of any of our weapons. There's the Sukhoi T-50K. And those aircraft presumably will be now simply tracking to return back to their carrier, having expended their weapons. Okay, there's our growlers. We'll put them in a patrol pattern. The F-35Cs. And they're just out of range of the Kongsberg Joint Strike Missiles. So we'll head them towards the surface group. We'll change the patrol groups for some of our air superiority fighters, because at some point we're likely to see aircraft being launched. And there we have the first, the Sukhoi T-50. And so our air superiority group will begin to engage that with AMRAAMs, well within range. And so the battle for air superiority has begun. Interesting manoeuvre by the F-35. And the other platform we want to target at some point will be that helicopter, simply because whilever it remains in the air, it presents a threat to our submarines, a detection and prosecution threat. Okay, got these aircraft moving north. There seems to be a lot of AMRAAMs against a single Sukhoi, so I'm not quite sure about the fire discipline on that F-35. He seems to be firing every missile he's got. So we'll set him to a more reasonable ammunition allocation, because otherwise he will be Winchester before the real fighting begins. You can see they've already dropped down to 9 out of 16 available AMRAAMs for that group, so we'll make sure that they only fire when they're directed to do so. That is an absurd number of AMRAAMs going against a single aircraft. So that Sukhoi is probably having a very, very bad day and hoping to run those missiles out of range. Okay, we've got a new detection of a Sukhoi. Some of those AMRAAMs would have been very useful against it, but we'll fire what we've got. Okay. So the first aircraft has expended literally all of its AMRAAMs against a single target, which is inexplicable. And unsurprisingly, the Sukhoi is shot down, but then all the other AMRAAMs then become useless. They don't then retarget. Okay, we've detected in the meantime another Kamov helicopter. We'll fire again at that other Sukhoi detection. We've got a missile going against the Kamov. Again, those present a threat. We've got another Sukhoi detected to the east of our position, so more missiles going out. And you can see the air battle is well underway. So we really want to knock out these helicopters. Kamov Ka-27. And we've destroyed that one. And there's a second Kamov here. And the reason is that even if our fighters have to return to the carrier group to rearm and refuel, these present a persistent threat to our submarines. So we've shot down the second Kamov 27. And that makes life a little bit easier for our submarines. It lessens the threat somewhat to them. Even if our air superiority attacks culminate and everybody has to return home. So the sea skewers are still tracking towards their UAVs are still tracking towards their targets, with the sea skewers still out of range. The naval strike get that moving up a little bit closer. The growlers will go into a patrol pattern to the southeast of the carrier group. They're within range of their Kongsbergs. And we've got a Sukhoi T-50 being pursued by missiles. And it's launched. We've got a T-50 shot down. And successfully puts flares out and evades one missile. But is unsuccessful against the second missile. Nonetheless, it put out its own anti-air missiles against our growlers. Which is unfortunate because, of course, it diverts them from their electronic attack mission. Within range of the Kongsbergs for the Moskva group, so we'll launch the Kongsbergs. All 8 have gone out. Still 13 AMRAAMs on these platforms, so they may linger. You can see the Kongsbergs flying out there towards the enemy surface fleet. And the growlers under attack. We've detected another helicopter, and we've lost both our growlers, which is very unfortunate. Deprives us of our electronic attack capability, as well as, okay, we've got now 2 helicopters here, so we really have to do something about these helicopters. The Spearfish are still out of range for the surface fleet from the HMS Astute, the submarine, but we'll get that moving to the southeast to put it in a better ambush position, and the HMS Ambush will get that moving to the northwest for the same reason. So we've got the Kongsbergs. We've got 3 helicopters now detected in that target area, which is why it's so important we shoot them down, because otherwise they are very much a threat to our submarines. We've lost our growlers, so it's important capability we've lost there for electronic attack, both for this attack but also if we prosecute subsequent attacks. Speeding up time just a little bit, and okay. We've shot down one of the Kamovs. We've got incoming missile, which is a SAM Grumble, which is going after our F-35. It got a little too close to the surface group, and it's paying the price for that now. And we have our own missiles going in on those Kamov helicopters to clear the air picture of helicopters so that our submarines can operate with a little more safety. F-35 is running for it. And another Kamov shot down. Speed up time a little. F-35, we're hoping that he can evade, but does not. He does not. He's shot down. And the last of the Kamov helicopters is also shot down, although not sure others may yet launch. Okay, so learning from that, we will bring our patrol patterns further back. We won't get them leaning so far forward or so close to the enemy surface fleet. We've still got this strike group has its Kongbergs. We'll get it tracking towards the surface fleet. Okay, they're checking the sea skewers are still out of range. They won't be in range till they're quite close. But it will present the adversary with sea skewers and Kongsbergs at the same time. So we'll put these aircraft again. We'll bring their patterns back a little bit from the surface fleet so they're not within the anti-air bubble of the enemy surface fleet. And we'll slow them down as well, because we want them to be able to loiter. They've got quite a few air-to-air missiles still on them, so there's no sense in having them burn through all their fuel. As this naval strike platform has done, it's got Kongsberg, so we'll get it to launch its Kongsbergs before it heads home. Yep, and return to base. So that was a lucky pickup then. If they'd gotten too much further, that would have been difficult. They would have gone out of range of the Kongsbergs. Now, the submarines also have tactical Tomahawk missiles. So what we'll do is they're within range, and we will try and present the adversary with multiple problems at the same time to solve. And we'll launch the Tomahawks against the surface group here from the ambush. Okay, and there's the Tomahawks. And you can see they've already launched an aircraft, and the aircraft is already engaging the Tomahawks. Now our patrol aircraft can then engage their aircraft they've launched. And you can see the number of missiles that the strike group is now expending will complicate their problem even further. And they're launching against all of our inbound missiles, Tomahawks and Kongsbergs. We're still outside of sea skewer range. And you can see they're expending quite a lot of anti-air ammunition, which defeats these attacks, but of course that can also make them vulnerable to later attacks by us when they don't have that level of protection anymore. Okay, so their air unit is detected and engaging our unmanned aerial vehicles, which are now trying to evade. We'll see whether they succeed. One is shot down, and the other's also evading a missile. And it too, unfortunately, is shot down. So both of our unmanned aerial vehicles shot down, but we've still got Tomahawks and Kongsbergs going towards the surface fleet, and we've got anti-air missiles on the air platform that they've launched. So we've still got one tactical Tomahawk, still inbound. More anti-air missiles launching against the Kongsbergs, and we'll launch our Tomahawks at the surface fleet again to provide them more things happening, more overwhelming information, and encourage them to expend all of their anti-air munitions. And what that does is it leaves that surface fleet then vulnerable against our second wave of attacks. If they don't really have any substantive anti-air defense when we launch our second wave, then it makes it a lot easier for us. And you can see that effect already with the Tomahawks launching in from the west towards the carrier group. And you can see their expenditure of anti-air ammunition. Well, we've lost the last of our Tomahawks from the ambush, but we've still got Tomahawks, and you can see the launching here from the Moskva group against the Tomahawks from the Astute. We've detected another helicopter and already launched against it, so that's good. And we'll launch against that Sukhoi that's patrolling. Okay, we're losing some of our Tomahawks. Again, that's not fatal to our effort, but presenting the enemy surface group with all of these simultaneous problems just complicates their life and forces them to expend this ammunition. And once it's gone, it's gone. And we've still got some Tomahawks tracking in on the surface fleet here. Okay, Okay, get the F-35 to complicate the Sukhoi's life, give it something to respond to so that it doesn't then target the Tomahawks. We've got another Kamoff, we detected it earlier, we've launched against that and we shoot that one down as well. So at this stage the enemy surface fleet has got to be running out of helicopters to be able to be used in an anti-submarine warfare role. Its Sukhoi is now going defensive, meaning that it can't use its anti-air missiles against the Tomahawks, and the enemy surface fleet is using probably some of its very depleted by now, very depleted stocks of anti-air missiles against our Tomahawks, and one of which is shot down, and the last of which is shot down. As is the Sukhoi T-50 that was patrolling the surface fleet. Okay, so we still have Kongsberg JSMs going in on the enemy surface fleet, and we still have platforms to fire them. The naval strike platforms can still return to the QE2, refuel, rearm, and come back for another go. So far this battle is turning out pretty well for us. We don't really need to make any changes to the QE2. The A3 Sentry is still moving slowly towards its patrol area, and we moved that back to the south of the aircraft carrier for its own safety, but I don't think that's been much of an issue so far. The carrier group is the enemy surface group is just outside of Spearfish range, so we'll let them go, let them keep tracking. We'll speed up time. We've got some of their enemy aircraft returning to base. We've got the Kongsbergs still going in towards the enemy surface group. And we'll see what kind of reaction it provokes. This will tell us a lot about their remaining anti-air capability. And you can see they're now launching short-range anti-air missiles against the Kongsbergs. Okay, and even from the aircraft, patrolling aircraft are launching against them. Speed up time. Let's see how this develops. Okay. So at this stage it doesn't look like this surface fleet is firing any more anti-aircraft missiles against our Kongsbergs, which may indicate that they've expended them all. They're now pretty vulnerable. Because of course we still have submarines with torpedoes. We also have air assets we can turn around from the QE2 for a second phase naval strike. So this is the Moskva in the Slava class, leading here our surface group, the Russian surface group, and it's Kongsberg just flies straight past it and is looking for a target and finds the Admiral Chabanenko and hits the Admiral Chabanenko, inflicting some damage. Okay, so that indicates now that our ability to get that missile in indicates to me that the Russian surface fleet is now pretty vulnerable to our missile attacks. So we now need to maintain air superiority, make sure our patrol aircraft are out of range, but they can then launch on these enemy aircraft. They can probably get quite close to the carrier group now that the enemy surface group, now that they've expended their ammunitions. But we now want to finish off that phase of the air superiority battle, really by making sure the enemies can't launch anything without getting shot down. Okay, they do have something lurking in the vicinity of Jan Mansfield, but it's outside of AMRAAM's range. Okay, so these aircraft are now launching lavish amounts of AMRAAMs on the MiG-29. We've got another helicopter, another Kamov, so we know what we're going to do with that. We really don't want any of these helicopters anywhere near where our submarines are going to be operating, because it can both detect the submarines and also prosecute attacks on them and support attacks from the surface ships as well. Another helicopter. And we'll target that helicopter as well. So it doesn't seem that they have much in the way of anti-air, but they do seem to have helicopters. We're now following a Sukhoi T-50K that looks like it's on final approach to land on the Russian carrier. And you can see to the slight right the Admiral Chabanenko burning in that carrier task group from having been hit. It's put flares out because it's being targeted. It seems to have successfully evaded the AMRAAMs, although some more are coming in on it. And there it seems to have landed at 850 kilometers an hour, which is quite a feat. And here's the MiG-29Ks. We'll track what happens to this group as they're coming in. Putting flares out to evade. And we shot down one of the Kamov helicopters. And our MiG-29 putting flares out, again evades the missile. The lead ship and the formation, so the rear ship is shot down, leaving only the lead ship in the formation. It has an AMRAAM coming in on it as well. There's its buddy to its rear. Having been shot down, we shot down the other helicopter, the other Kamov, and the MiG-29K as well. So it looks like the air plot is clear, as far as we're concerned, at least for now. We still have aircraft in the sky, we still have AMRAAMs. We'll slow them down. And it looks like the first phase of the battle is now more or less complete. Leaving us now to get on with the second phase of the battle, which is the surface targeting. Okay, we'll see if we can knock down that Sukhoi. I think that's a false contact, that Sukhoi. I think it's the one that landed, and the marker's still there on the map because we were tracking it at the time. But it's just indicated. I think that's just a glitch, and it's the way that the game operates when it's modelling carrier landings. It doesn't model them that accurately. Okay, so Jan Mansfield for now seems to have survived. Good luck. 43 AMRAAMs left, 3 aircraft still operational. The Astute has all of its 28 Spearfish, and the Russian surface group is coming within range, but we'll want them to essentially cross the T before we launch the Spearfish so that we minimise the range for the torpedoes to cover, and make it harder and harder for the surface fleet to do anything. Another Kamov detected, and we'll engage that one. It seems they have an endless supply of helicopters, this surface group. It's quite amazing. But some of them no doubt coming from the aircraft carrier. Okay, speaking of aircraft carriers, the QE2 is doing fine. The our naval strike aircraft coming in for recovery. And we've got AMRAAM tracking on that Kamov helicopter. Want to clear the air plot. And we've shot that one down as well. So far, so good. So the Astute's got its 28 Spearfish. We're just going to let the surface fleet, the Russians, cross the T, so we'll speed up time to get that happening, and minimise the engagement distance for the Spearfish torpedoes, but also reduce the opportunity for the surface fleet to evade them. We have another MiG-29 launched, so we'll engage them with AMRAAM, which will essentially expend the AMRAAMs from this patrol group. And we've shot down the MiG-29. So at this stage, the Russian surface fleet appears to be pretty vulnerable in the air. It's losing all of its air platforms. It's expended all of its anti-air missiles, and every single time like this that it's launching any MiG-29s, we're immediately launching against it and maintaining that air superiority in the battle space. So we'll bring this group. They've still got fuel and plenty of AMRAAMs. We'll bring them into a different patrol pattern, and we'll bring this group to the north a little bit. Seems to be the pattern that the MiG-29s are launching in that kind of aspect. So this MiG-29 is evading the AMRAAM. But is nonetheless shot down. Okay, and once again we have a clear air picture. We'll speed up time. Okay, that patrols bingo fuel. And how is the Astute going? Okay, still within range. Okay, we'll speed up time here. Speed up time so that we've got the Russian surface fleet here. Okay. Now we've got incoming missiles. We'll check it's not the QE2. Okay, it's Jan Mansfield. So something has launched, probably from the Russian airbase to the east. Something has launched. We've got 43 AMRAAMs. Okay, what can happen here? We've got the spearfish still within range, so we'll go for overkill, and we'll initiate the engagement with our spearfish, and we'll see if we can't target this Russian surface group as best we can. And we've ammunition expenditure, so we'll go after each one of these vessels in turn, give them their own torpedoes. Okay, torpedoes away. So each of these ships should get one or two torpedoes all to itself. We've got the ambush. It's still outside of torpedo range, but it's tracking into the target area. So of course the ambush can do a good job as well. We'll get it moving into its location. But it's got quite a long ways, I think, to get there. As you can see, it would take it 7 hours at its current speed to get into that location. Back to the Jan Mayen's field on Jan Mayen's island. 43 AMRAAMs in defence, as well as I think our F-35 ought to be ready by now. So those missiles are coming in pretty quickly, and what we'll do is we'll engage them as soon as they cross the threshold of our AMRAAMs. Okay, we don't know what they are, but there's a number of them. We'll drop down to normal time again, get onto these AMRAAMs. They're about to get within range, and as soon as they're within range, we'll engage these inbound missiles. And it seems as though the adversary forces are very intent on knocking out this airfield. We also have the F-35C Lightning II air superiority. It's ready to launch. It has 8 AMRAAMs and 2 Sidewinders that we can also use if we need to. I'll just hold off on it for the time being. I just want to see what our NASAMS can do against this inbound missile threat. Because obviously if I launch the F-35 and then need to recover it, then that gives me a big window where they can launch against me and I don't have anything. So still got 31 AMRAAMs. I think, okay, right, I think now it is time to launch the F-35 because we've got too many missiles coming in and our NASAMS aren't launching fast enough. So we'll put our AMRAAMs, get our AMRAAMs going. Might as well launch as many of them, get the NASAMS going. Okay, we just want to, as I've said before, I don't want any NASAMS on the ground when a land strike hits the airfield. That would be wasteful. Okay, so we've got the AMRAAMs from the F-35 and the Sidewinders also within range. You can see that missiles, the Iran missiles getting dangerously close to the airfield. We're knocking a number of them down, but some of them are still getting through. We've still got just a little under 20 AMRAAMs. Running out of time, and there we go. Okay, so we'll get the F-35. It's still got 5 AMRAAMs and 1 Sidewinder, so we'll get in a patrol pattern around the island. We've still got some NASAMS in reserve, so it's looking pretty good for Jan Mansfield that we'll survive this scenario. Got the torpedoes launched out. You can see the island of Jan Mayen's island, sorry, behind the F-35 there with the Beerenberg volcano in the background. We've got a fixed-wing aircraft group. Okay, so that was potentially what launched that missile barrage at us. So we'll get the F-35 closing in on them and see if we can't suppress them as a threat. The torpedoes are tracking in towards the carrier group, the enemy surface group. Okay, we've got another detection of a fixed-wing aircraft group, and we've got more missiles inbound. Okay, so that means we're going to have to more Raduga KH-37 Iran missiles, and we'll retask that F-35 and get its AMRAAMs firing at that group. They're still out of range of the NASAMS from the airfield, though. Okay, how are we going with our aircraft? So they've got a few more seconds before they're ready to launch a second phase strike against the... Yep, so we've got a few more minutes to go while these aircraft get themselves ready, the naval strike aircraft. The first ones are ready. We'll pick 4, or maybe in groups of 2. We'll put them up and we'll launch them. And a second group of 2, we'll get them up and launching them as well. And what that will do is that'll complement the torpedo strikes, the surface-to-surface fires that are going in. Is we'll put some more naval strikes. So the incoming missiles, got a lot of them. Our F-35 is now down to sidewinders. Well, it's got one sidewinder. We'll get it to launch and expend everything it's got, and the missiles are still outside of NASAMS range from the airfield itself. Okay. Got our patrol aircraft heading off to the east, and we'll see if our patrol aircraft, which has 13 AMRAAMs, see whether it can take down those large aircraft. Okay, and we fired the last sidewinder for the F-35, which best case scenario is now down to guns. Okay, we've got 18 AMRAAMs, but the incoming missiles, the Iran missiles, are still out of range of the NASAMS. Torpedoes still tracking in on the Russian surface fleet. We'll speed up time a little bit, see what's happening. 18 AMRAAMs. And the Iran missiles are coming close to being within range. The F-35 is returning to base. Okay, and we'll fire as many of these NASAMS as we can at the incoming missiles. The Iran, we're down to 3, we're down to 1, and now we've fully expended our NASAMS. Unfortunately, we still have Iran missiles coming in on us, so this might get quite unfortunate. We've got, looks like 7. Going back to Jan Mayen's field, it is damaged but still intact, and we still have our 3 aircraft, including the F-35, which has now got 30 minutes to be ready. So Jan Mayen's field damaged but still intact and in the fight. And I suspect those aircraft have all used up their missiles, so we have a couple more naval strike aircraft ready to go. We'll get them up and launch them towards the Russian surface group. For another fight, we'll put some air superiority fighters out to see if we can't tackle those large aircraft. Now back into the surface-to-surface fires, and we've got the torpedoes tracking nicely. It looks like the Russians have detected the torpedo barrage coming at them, and they are now maneuvering to the southeast at speed. So I suspect this is going to be the end game because those torpedoes are closing rapidly, and there's a number of them, so they should do quite a bit of damage to the surface fleet. And of course, if they do that damage, that is good because that'll achieve our objectives and prevent the Russian invasion of Iceland and allow our side to maintain control of the Greenland-Iceland-UK or GI-UK gap, which is the means by which submarines can get to the North Atlantic. So we've got a Pyotr Veliki, the Kirov-class cruiser, is likely to be the first. And it's hit and destroyed by a spearfish. One hit, that's quite impressive. We'll move now to the already damaged Admiral Chabanenko. And it is also destroyed. So we've now got 2 out of our 3. And moving now to this medium surface contact, which has destroyed the Sergei Gorshkov. And that then brings the mission to a close with 18 enemy aircraft destroyed, 3 surface ships for the loss of only 6 of our own aircraft, which is a fairly good result. We've defeated the invasion attempt, we've largely attrited the enemy surface fleet, and we've lost only 6 aircraft of our own with some minor damage to Jan Mayen's field. So as always, thanks for watching. For more Naval War Arctic Circle content, check out the NATO campaign and Jersey blockade playlists on our channel. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and donate, and stay tuned for the next episode.